Welcome back to the deep dive. We are jumping straight into a Zion recap today.
Hmm.
We're taking Pastor Roy's recent sermon from Zion CC and really trying to extract the blueprint for action he laid out.
Yeah, this wasn't just a feel-good message. It was a serious challenge about who God is and, maybe more importantly, what we're supposed to do about it.
He framed it around this one core tension that I just can't get out of my head.
Spectators or players.
Exactly. Are we just sitting on the sidelines, commenting on everything that's wrong with society, or are we actually in the game?
It's such a critical distinction, especially now when it's so easy to think that posting something online is the same as doing something.
Although that basketball analogy he used was perfect.
It was.
A teammate gets hurt, the coach yells, "Go for them!" And, some of us are just staying on the bench saying, "Well, I'm doing my job. I posted about it on Facebook."
Right, instead of getting in the game and, risking getting sweaty, it cuts right through the noise.
It does. It forces you to ask, what are we actually doing? The call was to stand in the truth and play the game.
So I think that's the perfect place to start.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be active, not passive?
Well, it kicks off with this first big challenge, which is that we are called to be thermostats, not thermometers.
And this might be the most practical takeaway from the whole sermon. A thermometer, it just reports the temperature in the room.
It just reflects what's already there, the fear, the anger.
Exactly. But a thermostat sets the temperature. It's the agent of change. It actually dictates the environment it's in.
That's so much harder than it sounds, though. I mean, the news cycle, everything online, it's designed to make us thermometers, constantly reacting.
It is. And he addressed that directly, especially this dependency on politics for our emotional state.
The 4-year cycle.
The 4-year cycle of fear. One party wins, half the world thinks it's the end of days. The other half thinks we've reached utopia.
And our spiritual stability just gets pegged to these earthly systems.
Right? But the core message is that God holds you in his hands no matter who is in the White House. Our stability is sovereign, not political.
That's a powerful idea, but hard to live out.
Well, look at the evidence he used to back it up. This, to me, was just a stunning fact.
The projection about China.
Yeah, that China is projected to be the largest Christian nation in the world by 2030.
Wow.
That's less than 5 years away. And it's happening under a government that is, let's say, not exactly in favor of Christianity.
So it's proof. Proof that the kingdom's work doesn't depend on a favorable political climate.
It's completely decoupled, which means the mission doesn't start in Washington, D.C. It starts at your kitchen table.
It starts at home, then moves to the marketplace, right?
Absolutely. You can't just be making comments about what should happen. You have to be affecting the people around you, setting the temperature with your colleagues, your friends.
Okay, so once we've established that we're supposed to be these active temperature setters, he then directs that energy toward, well, some pretty big cultural ideas.
He does. He takes us straight back to Paul in Acts 17, challenging the philosophers in Athens.
And what's so wild is that those two ancient groups he talks about, the Epicureans and the Stoics, they are absolutely thriving today.
They are. The names have changed, but the philosophies are everywhere. Paul's challenge is timeless because the questions haven't changed.
So let's start with the Epicureans. Their whole thing was basically that peace and happiness are the ultimate goal, and you get there on your own.
Right. Maximize pleasure, minimize pain. They believe that, everything has always existed. There was no creator. And if God is real, he's distant and doesn't care.
This life is all there is.
That's the motto. And you see it today in radical individualism, the idea that my personal happiness justifies anything.
But the sermon's counterpoint to that is, well, it's pretty sobering. It's the reality of judgment.
It is. Pastor Roy was very clear. The focus of this life becomes the focus of the next. If you choose to live as if God doesn't care now, you're just choosing that same separation for eternity.
It kind of undercuts that whole idea of a temporary self-made peace.
Mm-hmm. And then you have the complete opposite with the Stoics.
Right. The hyper-rational, suppress your emotions crowd.
Exactly. God is in everything and everyone, so there's no real good or evil. And the goal is to be completely self-sufficient, emotionally invulnerable.
You see that in a lot of corporate culture. Just be a rock, don't react.
But the sermon argues that God gave us emotions for a reason. They're not the problem.
So it's not about repressing the emotion, but understanding what it's signaling.
That's the key. Anger or frustration isn't the enemy, it's an indicator. It's like a check engine light for your soul.
I love that.
It's pointing to an unmet goal. So if you're always angry, you need to stop and ask the Holy Spirit, what is the goal I'm trying to get to, and why is it so important to me?
Because if you've put all your hope in that one thing, a promotion, a relationship, You're setting yourself up for frustration. Life isn't perfect.
You will hit obstacles. And if your identity is tied to that goal, the disappointment becomes, well, it becomes devastating.
So from those internal philosophies, he moves to the external pressures, the world's patterns.
Yeah, the things that God forbids, but the world uses as motivation. Hate, fear, greed, pride.
And the examples of the fear cycles were so good. I mean, the ozone layer. I remember that panic. We were all going to die.
And now it's not really a big deal.
Or the paper straw debate. It was everywhere for a month, and then it just vanished, replaced by the next thing to be afraid of or angry about.
The world is an expert at telling you who to hate or what to fear next. And this is where the sermon asks a really uncomfortable question.
Are we, the church, using the world's tactics?
Are we just preaching fear and outrage from a different angle? Pastor Roy was adamant that the solution isn't more angry posts or comments.
The solution is testimony.
Testimony. Not just your salvation story, but actively declaring God's goodness in your life right now, in your family, in your finances. That's what sets a different temperature.
And that leads right into the call for unity, which is, I think, the antidote to the enemy's main tactic.
Which is segregation. Those people are oppressing you. For you to win, they have to lose.
That zero-sum game again.
But God's design from Acts 17 was the opposite. He made all nations from one man with the intention of bringing all nations and tongues together.
And he was so realistic about it, he acknowledged that unity is messy.
Oh, the anecdotes were great, like the challenge of different cultural norms at funerals
Or the long, drawn-out goodbye process in some families.
Yes, it takes forever. We're different. We grieve differently. We plan differently. But those differences aren't supposed to be deal breakers.
They're not the problem. The problem is when we let them override our shared identity in the kingdom.
We have to be an example of a love that covers all of that. Because at the end of the day, we serve the same king.
Okay, so that brings us to the final major section. Paul, in Athens, revealing the nature of this unknown God.
And this speaks so directly to people today who might believe in some kind of God, but maybe it's a Jesus that isn't actually in the scriptures.
So Paul lays out 3 non-negotiables. What's the first one?
Point 1, he is the creator. This just directly refutes that Epicurean idea that everything is just, always existed by chance.
And he anchored it in Psalms 139. You created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb.
It's so personal.
The takeaway is you were not an accident. You were designed. Intentionally.
Then point 2, he is always present. He's not just in the church building. We don't get to leave him at the door on Monday morning.
And this is where that great story about Tom came in. The strange one.
Ah, yes. The guy who just prays for people immediately, wherever he is, even in the Arby's drive-thru.
It's a perfect picture of God moving in the mundane, or in the break room, at the factory. He's not confined to our sacred spaces.
And the Bible confirms it over and over. Where can I go from your spirit? Jeremiah 23. Am I only a God nearby and not a God far away? He is always near.
And the third point, this one feels like it's aimed right at the Stoics.
It is. Point 3, he is self-sufficient.
We're not doing God a favor by showing up to church.
Not at all. He has no needs. This just destroys our tendency to try and make a contract with God. God, if you do this for me, I promise I'll do that for you.
You can't put him in a box like that.
You can't. He says in Psalms 50, if I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine and all that is in it. Everything we have to offer him, he gave to us first. He controls it all.
So when you put those 3 things together, creator, present, and self-sufficient, what's the final call? What does that mean for us?
It brings us all the way back to Jeremiah 9. What should we boast in? Not our wisdom, not our power, not our riches.
But only in this, that we understand and know the Lord.
To know that he is a God who demonstrates unfailing love, justice, and righteousness.
And knowing him means understanding both sides of that coin. His compassion, but also his role as judge.
Exactly. He's merciful and slow to anger, yes. But Pastor Roy's point about the phrase, only God can judge me, that was powerful.
That it shouldn't be a phrase of comfort or license.
It should induce profound fear. It's a terrifying truth, not a spiritual get-out-of-jail-free card.
Which is what makes the opportunity to repent so urgent and so beautiful.
It's an invitation right now to turn away from the enemy's tactics, the hate, the fear, the indifference, and choose God's way.
This was such a necessary deep dive. The call to move from being a spectator to a player, a thermometer to a thermostat. There's so much to chew on this week.
So here's a final provocative thought for you to carry into your week. If you are called to play the game and not just comment on it, What specific game are you currently avoiding at work, at home, or in your neighborhood that requires you to step off the bench and demonstrate unfailing love, justice, and righteousness right now?
If you want to hear the entire sermon and get the full context of this powerful message, head over to the Zion CC YouTube page. Until next time, be a thermostat.